This is not the age of man versus machine. This fight ended the moment we taught the machine to think, not perfectly, not consciously, but fast enough to make most of what we do. The real conflict now isn't about metal arms versus human hands. It is about something quieter. The lines are shifting, not between humans and robots, but between what's needed and what's not. AI didn't walk in to take your job. It didn't show up to destroy humanity. It showed up with no agenda, no ego, no morality, just the ability to do, to repeat, and to scale infinitely. And when that kind of force enters the system doesn't fight it. It recognizes it fast, quietly, and brutally. So no, AI isn't here to replace you, but it is here to redefine you, and if you're not ready for that redefinition, it is going to feel like exactly like you're being replaced. We used to be told the machines would come for us, that it would take our jobs, replace our roles, automate the world into something unrecognizable. But that warning, that fear missed the mark, because AI didn't arrive with fangs. It didn't storm in to destroy us. It slipped quietly into our browsers, our workflows, our meetings. And now, without any declaration or disaster, everything has changed, smoother than we predicted. This time, we're not competing with something that lifts heavier or moves faster. We are competing with something that thinks, not like us, but close enough to challenge the very foundation we built our value on. The machine doesn't just replicate tasks, it replicates judgments, it crafts language, it makes decisions. It turns our once unique skills, writing, designing, coding, planning, and everything in between into drag and drop function, into widgets, into prompts, and suddenly the safety net starts to fray. The degrees, the resumes, the job, the titles, all those things we were told made us irreplaceable, they feel weak now. Less like anchors, more like receipts, but maybe the threat isn't replacement. Maybe it is redefinition, as we said. Maybe the danger isn't we no longer know what makes us useful, and AI in its cold, brilliant consistency forces that question into the open. It doesn't second guess, it doesn't stall, it doesn't need coffee or confidence for approval, it just produces. While we thinkers, builders, strategists pause, read, rethink, reconsider. Not because we're weak, but because we're human. And that's the fork in the road. The quiet and sudden divide between output and meaning. Because if we can't match the machine in speed, can we surpass it in depth? If we can't do more, can we do what matters? That's where the new definition of value begins. Not in doing what AI can't, but in seeing what it won't, in reclaiming the part of the process that no algorithm can feel. AI is changing everything, as if we've never been here before, as if this is the first time humanity has stood on the edge of something massive and uncertain and irreversible. But the history tells a different story. Not an instant downfall, but slow, gradual collapse. We have faced revolution before, and every time it started with a whisper, not a scream. In the beginning of the 19th century, machines began replacing muscle. Steam powered what sweat once did. The Industrial Revolution didn't just speed up things, it rewired the entire power structure. Professions that once defined communities all vanished. Traditions turned into memories. The fear back then wasn't born from intelligence. The machines didn't think, they didn't reason back then. They just worked faster, cheaper, and without pause. And that was enough to burn the world that came before. There was resistance, obviously, on the ground. They attacked the very tools built to help them, the ones meant to free them, and yet it didn't stop. The wheel kept turning. The world moved on. We think we're different. That this time is unique, but the pattern is the same. In the past, we lost physical dominance. Now, we're watching something far more intimate, unravel our mental edge, our ability to create, to craft, to think clearly. That sacred space we call talent is now being swallowed by APIs, prompts, and neural networks. AI can write faster, obviously, illustrate instantly, speak in our voices, and edit entire videos in seconds, all without ever needing to understand why. But make no mistake, this isn't extinction, this is evolution. Every revolution rewards the lines, and every time we are given the same test: adapt or vanish. An adaptation doesn't mean learning to code. It simply means learning to see differently, to think in systems, to create meanings. And AI isn't coming for your life, it's coming for your definition of value. And like every revolution, survival doesn't belong to the most gifted, but to the most fluid, the most willing to question their place and redefine it before the world does it for them. Because this isn't man versus machine. This is man without AI versus man who knows how to wield it. This didn't happen overnight. There was no dramatic announcement, no viral headline saying you're no longer essential, but slowly the tools we built to help us stopped needing us. They kept getting better, faster, cleaner, until one day they weren't just assisting the process, they were the process. Just not that long ago, you used to spend, for example, an hour writing a blog post, crafting every sentence, obsessing over the headlines. Now, a machine finishes the same tasks in under 30 seconds. So they come up with perfect grammar, SEO optimized, 5 alternative versions ready to go. Let's take, for example, BuzzFeed laid off 180 people and leaned into AI content. But this isn't just about speed, it is about exposure. AI didn't kill creativity, it revealed how much of this creativity wasn't really valuable to begin with. They were just repackaged templates that we called original. We weren't selling ideas, we were selling formulas. AI just simply made those formulas public. The truth hit hard. Much of what we called work was just clicking to format, clicking to schedule, clicking to revise. And AI, it never gets tired of clicking. According to Fiverr's 2024 business reports, 70% of freelancers now say clients are using AI to reduce scope or cut rates entirely from their businesses. Because when value is rooted in the process, not in judgments, creativity, or leadership, the algorithm wins all the time. Let's take, for example, March 2024. Klarna cuts its marketing team in half, replacing entire departments with AI system. Their new model can now handle over 700 customer requests per second, not per hour, per second. And what's more haunting, it's not that people lost their jobs or got fired, it is that they quietly stopped being essential. While AI generates music, writes scripts, and voices, most of us are still trying to stand out by doing more of what it's already mastered. Because AI doesn't care about your passion, it doesn't care about your love to your job or how many followers you have or how hard you worked. It doesn't need a salary. It doesn't need a reason. It only asks one question. Can you do something that I can't? This isn't about fear. It is about honesty. The illusion of being needed is gone. And what's left is the truth. If your work can be replaced, it probably never was your work to begin with. For the first time in history, we are witnessing the birth of a new idea, a new class system, not built on land, money, or inheritance, but built on cognition. A divide is forming right under our feet, and most people are too distracted to notice it. On one side, we have humans who are using AI to multiply their output, design systems, and redefine leverage. On the other hand, we have other humans who are waiting to be told what to do, still functioning in the operating system of an old economy that doesn't exist anymore. This isn't a war between man and machine. This is a separation between those who understand the shift and those who don't. And let's get something straight. This divide has nothing to do with coding. You don't need to be a technician. You don't need to know how to build the tools. But you obviously and necessarily need to understand how to think with them. That's the real revolution. AI isn't replacing thinkers, it is exposing non-thinkers. People who never had to question the structure they were in are lost now without it. And people who always followed instructions are now paralyzed, and there is no one to tell them what comes next. We used to call it intelligence. Now it is called prompt engineering, and we used to call it strategy, but now it is system thinking. The words change, but the game is still the same. And how fast can you understand what matters, what scales, and what connects? Because if you're still trying to be productive with your time, you have already lost. The new game isn't about productivity. It is about amplification. One person using AI well is worth 50 average workers, still relying on old school hustles. Not because the AI is better, but because that one person thinks like a designer, not a laborer. And it is not just a career path that is splitting its values. Those enhanced by AI begin to think differently. They don't see work as identity, they see it as a vehicle. They don't optimize for business, they optimize for outcome. Meanwhile, the others, they still chase certainty. They want the map, the manager, the Monday morning meeting, but the future belongs to those who can navigate with a compass, not a checklist. We're not headed towards a world of AI versus human. We're headed towards a world of AI augmented humans versus outdated mindset. That's the real war, and the line has already been drawn. So what's left for us? When the machine can do everything, when it can code faster, write cleaner, design better, and execute more efficiently than most teams combined, what is the point of a human in an economy where logic and labor have been automated? What is the real question at the subconscious of millions right now? And the truth is, there is still a role for everyone, but it is not where most people are looking. What AI can't do is care. It can't decide why something matters. It can process languages, obviously, but it can't assign meaning. It can simulate emotion, but it can't feel pain, purpose, or consequence. AI doesn't care if your product is ethical. It doesn't care if your story is true. It doesn't care if your vision will destroy a generation or uplift one. That's your job. Where humans come in. The machine can execute, but it will execute whatever you point it at. That means if your goal is shallow, so is your output. If your intention is broken, the system will scale that brokenness to millions in seconds. This is where your role becomes terrifying and scary, because the future, it needs more deciders, creators, and those who lead the algorithm, not be led by it. We're not competing with AI on output anymore. That game is over. The real game is vision, creativity, synthesis, judgment, leadership, the ability to hold conflicting truths. You can't prompt that. You can't outsource that. That's where humanity still holds the highest ground. But it's not a comfortable place to stand. It requires accountability. It requires willingness to be wrong, to inject meaning where machines see only data. This is the shift we should make from being efficient to being essential. The question isn't whether humans still matter. The question is, can we evolve fast enough to hold one thing that AI will never have as humans do? The soul behind the system. AI is likely to be either the best or the worst thing to happen to humanity. And that's what Stephen Hawking said. We spent centuries building systems that told us who we were. Our values were measured by output, title, salary, obedience. But now those systems are dissolving quietly, and the question we're left with isn't will AI replace me or not. It is something far more unsettling. How many of us were holding roles without purpose, working jobs without identity, performing value instead of creating it? Now the mirror is up, the illusion is gone, and in its place is choice. It seems like we can resist this, we can mock it, and we can wait for things to go back to normal. There is no normal now. This is our normal, is the new age, the new technologies. Only a new reality that rewards clarity, creativity, and the courage to build something that matters and provide real value. This is the quiet revolution. It won't be explained. It will just keep happening every day you stay still. So I really would like to remind you that AI is not replacing you. It is asking if you were ever really needed and if your role still matters in the future as it was before. I would really appreciate you sharing your opinion with me in the comments. Thank you so much and see you in the next one.